Studies Section 4, Industrial Sector. Introduction. Industrialization is the process of building up a nation's capacity to convert raw materials and other inputs to finished goods and to manufacture goods for other production or to final consumption. The need for industrialization has been one of the objectives of economic plans in Nigeria because of the place of industrial sector in economic growth and development as earlier mentioned. Hence, the relevance, problems, and strategies aimed at improving the performance of the sector will be examined in this study section. Learning outcomes. When you have studied this study section, you should be able to discuss the relevance of industrial sector, examine its problems, highlight the strategies at enhancing its performance, discuss some relevant strategies employed by government to encourage industrialization. Contribution of industrial sector of Nigeria GDP. The analysis of the sector's contribution to Nigeria's GDP shows that it contributed 11.10% in 1960. This rose marginally to 17.23% in 1965 and further to 22.40% in 1970. In 1980, the contribution increased to its highest of 40.80%, after which it started to decline. The decline was due to negative impact of oil on the economy during that period. The contribution fell to 29.2% in 1985 and raised to 34.34% as a result of the Structural Adjustment Program Industries in 1986. In year 2000, it fell to 29.04%, and in 2005, the falling trend continued as the percentage was 25.37. Question. What do you think is the remote cause of the fluctuations that characterize the Nigerian industrial sector in terms of its contribution to the country's national account? Feedback. The remote cause of the fluctuations that prevails in the Nigerian industrial sector today was due to negative impact of oil on the Nigerian economy. Problems of industrial sector in Nigeria. Given the potentials of the industrial sector in the development of a nation, the sector is accorded a crucial role. In Nigeria, successive development plans and policy statements of governments put the transformation of industrial sector at the center on the country's growth nexus. However, in spite of the plethora of strategies deployed to enhance the performance of the sector, not much had been achieved in terms of its expected contribution to Nigeria's growth and development. This is due to the problems facing the sector in the economy. Some of the problems ravaging the sector are poor infrastructure, especially power supply, political and policy instability, competition with foreign goods, poor quality of industrial output, high degree of dependence on foreign raw materials, insufficient capital, among others. Question. What is the most serious challenge confronting industrialization in Nigeria? Feedback. Lack of infrastructural facilities such as good roads and power supply. Strategies of industrialization in Nigeria. Nigeria and other West African countries have adopted a number of strategies of industrialization in their development efforts. In Nigeria, for instance, the following industrialization strategies had been adopted. 1. Import substitution strategy. 2. Export promotion strategy. 3. Balanced development strategy. 4. Local resource-based strategy. Import substitution strategy. After independence, Nigeria changed from the policy of producing primary products by the colonial masters to that of producing those items originally imported. The main aim was to lessen over-dependence on foreign trade and save foreign exchange. However, what turned out was mere assemblage of those items rather than manufacturing. This negates the original aim since almost every items needed by the so-called industries were imported. Export promotion strategy. Realizing the obvious pitfalls of the import substitution strategy, Nigeria added the strategy of export promotion. This involves the production and exportation of new products and those originally imported. To encourage and implement this policy, the Nigerian Export Promotion Board (NEPB) was established. Lack of incentive and raw materials had led to the failure of this strategy. There has been a renewed emphasis on this strategy since 1986 by the export promotion incentives. Local resource-based strategy. As a result of dwindling oil revenues and foreign exchange for the importation of raw materials and spare parts, the government decided to lay emphasis on the strategy of industrializing by local sourcing of raw materials. Industries are thus encouraged to find local substitutes or alternatives of raw materials. For instance, breweries now grow and use local millet and maize, while the ban on wheat importation has necessitated the baking of cornbread. This strategy will help maximum utilization of local resources as well as help save foreign exchange, among other merits. Question. List any 4 strategies that government can embark upon that will improve the standards of the industrial sector in Nigeria. Feedback. We don't know what you may think of, but some of the strategies that government can embark upon include import substitution strategy, export promotion strategy, balanced development strategy, and local resource-based strategy. Government incentives to industrialization. The government of West African countries has encouraged industrialization, and the strategies for same through a number of incentives. These include tax holiday. Infant or new industries are exempted from the payment of profit tax for some years of operation, such as 5 years. The aim is to protect them from international competition and enable them build up enough funds for expansion purposes. Tariff protection. In some cases, the government imposes heavy import duties on foreign goods so as to protect local industries from international competition. Import duty relief. In some cases, the government grants import duty relief to industries, particularly new ones, for the importation of capital equipment. Total ban on certain foreign goods. In Nigeria, the government has banned some foreign goods so as to protect local industries engaged in the productions of similar products, as well as to encourage increased local production. Provision of supportive activities. The government also provided other incentives in the form of aids like building of industrial estates. Provision of loan. In Nigeria, there are guidelines on credit allocation while financial institutions such as commercial banks, enchant banks and industrial development banks to the industrial sector. Provision of accelerated depreciation allowance. The government also allows another form of income tax relief by allowing industries to set aside each sums of covering wear and tear of their equipment and machines. Direct government participation. The government has also come in to participate directly in certain strategic industries, either alone or through joint participation with foreign or local entrepreneurs. Approved user scheme. This involved the giving of concessionary rates of duty to certain selected items of industrial import of manufacturers. Export incentives. In Nigeria, export promotion incentives include the refund of import duty on raw material for production of export goods, refund of excise duty paid on export manufactures, exemption from import level of 30% of raw materials imported for export production in 1986, generous import license for importing raw materials for export production, exporters retaining 25% of their proceeds of foreign exchange earnings from export in their foreign currency account with Nigerian banks, assistance on export costing and pricing, liberalized export license, and the establishment of an export credit guarantee and insurance scheme. Establishment of special industrial development financial institutions. Here we have Nigeria Industrial Development Bank, NIDB, and NBCI. Question: what do you think is the reason why Nigerian government gives incentives to companies that operate in Nigeria? Feedback: Nigerian government grants incentive programs to companies that operate in Nigeria with the aim of reducing their cost of production, thereby promoting industrialization. Study section summary. In this study section, industrial sector remains an important sector to economic growth and development of any country. The contribution of this sector to the economic growth and development in Nigeria is very low and disappointing, and the problems of this sector are many and numerous. The strategies of industrialization in Nigeria over the years are: 1. Import substitution strategy. 2. Export substitution strategy. 3. Balanced development strategy. 4. Local resource-based strategy. Government incentives to the industrial sector in Nigeria are tax holiday, tariff protection, provision of loan, export incentives, etc. However, this sector can be the catalyst for rapid economic growth and development of the country. This is the end of section 4. Thanks for listening.